Here's a quick tip on your assignment for adding the charts to this spreadsheet. Hopefully by this point you've got the chart selected and you've gone to quick layouts and applied the layout 1, which is the first layout for this pie graph, and you see that it added the title up here. Now here's the thing with charts. I've already cautioned you in the instructions that if you click in a cell, see how the ribbon changes and it's not relevant to the chart, and then when you click on the chart and you have the chart selected, that you have the charting tools ribbon up here, and so things begin to become relevant to the ribbon. Well, how do you know what is selected? You may not have ever realized this, but you know what's selected by the dots. These are the sizing handles, these dots that are around whatever you have selected. The reason that that's really important in any kind of chart that you have, bar chart, line chart, pie chart, is because if I click again, you know, sometimes we double click or we're just, you know, I don't know, messing with stuff and we click, I have more dots. And those dots are around chart title. If I click this credit, notice credit and debits. In other words, my labels are selected. I can select the pie. See how the pie is now selected, okay? To show you how sensitive this is in terms of what is selected, let's say I click credits. And you see how both credit and debit is selected? I know that because they have dots, the sizing handles around them. What if I clicked credit yet again? Now debit no longer has dots, credit has dots. In other words, only credit is selected rather than both credit and debit. That is hugely important because as I start to add colors and, you know, move things, whatever is selected will have that applied. So that is probably the, you know, most critical tip I can give you. Now, let me tell you another quick. Oftentimes when you have things selected, you kind of get stuck and you're like, what do I do? How do I stop selecting things already? Well, one way is to click out to a cell and then to come back. And you'll notice that when I'm clicking in kind of a safe spot. In other words, I didn't click out here and then click directly on chart title, because when I did that, it immediately selected that. So I need to click in a safe space, something that is not occupied. Now, I did that on purpose. I clicked in what almost was a safe space, but I didn't quite get out of my chart area. You say, well, how do you know? How do you know? I don't know. This is what I know. I can see it's selected now, so that was not a safe spot. So try again. Just move away a little bit and then click again. Okay? So my goal at this point is to do two things. I have two goals. One, I'm going to click chart title. And then see when I put my mouse inside there, how in Excel, whenever your mouse changes shape, that means something. Well, when I put my mouse inside here, it turns into not a pointer, but almost looks like a letter I. Click again and see how now I have a cursor flashing. That means I can type. So let's get rid of this text in here, and I'm going to call it account 1. Now usually you have to hit enter in Excel because you're done typing and that kind of sets it up. Well, you don't do that here because if I hit enter, it would just add like a blank line down below. So I don't want to do that. Okay, now I have that selected. I'm just going to click in a safe space. Now I also noticed that my word credit here and debit looks all right, but credit looks a little funny. So I'm going to click on the word credit and I'm going to resize. Now these are sizing handles, right? But I can't get hold of it. Well, I don't just have credit selected, I have credit and debit. So I'm going to click credit again. Now I have what looks more like a sizing handle, and I can actually spread it out. Now, previously in this course, we've learned that if you move your mouse over the, not on the sizing handle, that's a sizing handle, but on the edge of a box, then I can move that entire box. So I may even want to, and you can see why I chose to do a video here, I may even want to move that box around so that I have a nice, I can see my text. And it automatically adds, Excel does, in this particular layout, this line, this little leader line here, and it says this goes with debit. You may see this on charts where the little slices of pie are quite tiny. Okay, so that's a really, easy thing to do. Now, I'm going to ask that you do the same, have a graph like this for each one of these tables in here, count 2, 3, 4, however you chose to format them. But that may require that you resize your chart. Well, use the sizing handles, move this around, and position it so that it is the same height. And see how it starts at the bottom here and goes only, and then maybe no bigger than column L. Okay, so let's say that it fits through I6 through L14. Okay, so it's about in that. Now let me just run through this again. You select, I clicked over here to kind of clear my mouse to say I don't want to go into anything else with something selected. So I click away just to kind of shake loose my mouse. Remember what we did. We selected debit, and credit. We held the control key down. We selected our debit and credit balance. These cells are non-adjacent, so we had to use the control key. Now here's the thing. As long as I have that control key down, anything I click on is going to be stuck to my mouse as well. So I lift it up off my keyboard. Again, select. I have nothing held down. That's a common mistake that students make. Nothing held down. I know debit is selected because the box goes around that, so don't be doing this. Don't come back with your control key down and click that again. What that means is that I have cell F18 selected twice because I already selected it when I did this. So if I'm holding my control key down and clicking again, then I'm double, tripping, quadruple selecting it. Don't do that. You got it, right? Now that you have it, hold the control key down and again select the balances down there. So what did we do? We went to Insert. We went over here to Chart, selected the very first 2D chart. Now, once again, Excel's a little confused on what it's supposed to be graphing. It got the X and Y axes wrong, so with the chart selected, we have our tools up here. We switch row and column and see how it changed. Now, this is okay, but I kind of want to see it more in the style, So again, we jumped up here to Quick Layout. We picked the very first Quick Layout. We're going to make sure, I'm going to click on Chart Title and click again. So I clicked once to select, I clicked again so that I could type inside here. And I'm going to call this one Account 2. I need to resize it. How am I going to do that? See my mouse? Puffy white, but when I get it into position, see how it changes. Here's a tip. If you use the sides, your graph tends to look a little distorted. It looks a little wonky because you're only changing the width or you're only changing the height. If you use the corners, you can change both at the same time. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to position it down. Now my table is not quite as big here. I'm going to position it down here, so I might go from I18 to L25. What is that, 25, 26, L26. Okay, now here once again, remember my credits looks funny. So I clicked it once, but I can't do much because that selects both credit and debit. Click again, and I can either resize if I need to do that. I can reposition by grabbing the edge. So you might find that you have to do this a couple times. What you have selected is everything. So, okay, see, I'm not on a sizing dot. As I'm moving this around, I'm either on the edge of the box or I've got a sizing handle to make it big. And it takes a couple times because things kind of change around. So continue this pattern to make graphs for Account 3 and Account 4 and position them right next to those tables. Thanks.